A fair flower bloomed in the garden of James Webb and Melvina Morton on February 24, 1930, at Box Hill, Gingerland. This rose perfumed and flourished in the garden for 77 years, having given off its pleasant fragrance to many other gardens in which it was transplanted. Its primary fragrance wafted through the streets of Gingerland as she attended the Gingerland Primary School until she received her 7th standard certificate, the diploma of the day. She forfeited a career in nursing to tackle the calling of her life. At a tender age of 9, under the tutelage of Mother Henry, she accepted Christ as her Lord. She attended the Gingerland Pilgrim Holiness Church, now the Henry's Memorial Wesleyan Holiness Church, where she was actively involved in the church choir until she met her lover and friend. She was wedded to the late Reverend John Joseph Alexander Esdaille on November 25, 1952, and hence the flower was transplanted to St. Paul's, St. Kitts. Here, her formative years began. This period was short-lived, for in answer to the ministerial call, her husband accepted pastoral duties in Barbuda that same year. Alongside her husband, she became a mother in Israel for approximately 11 years and 9 months. Friendships analogous to a strong three-chord bond were formed with the Barbudans, to the extent that the natives considered her one of them, and the Esdaille name became a household name which evoked great respect. It was while she was spreading her fragrance here that she birthed her 5 children, Moulton, Barnabas, Grace, Joseph, and Gloria. She has always fondly made mention of the seasoned mothers of the church who took her under their wings and taught her everything she knew about motherhood. Until her departure from this earth, she held all Barbudans, churchgoers or not, in a deep-seated, irreplaceable niche of her heart. The distinctive fragrance once more wafted. This time, it led her on the ministerial path back to Nevis in 1965, where most of her service transpired. She pastored with her husband at the Brown Hill Wesleyan Holiness Church for approximately 8 months. However, the limited time of the stint in no way compares with the depth of the relationships and friendships that budded. She bloomed in Brown Hill in true Rojelia style. She was fair to everyone and favored none. Such was her love that she gained the trust and confidence of one Willie, a.k.a. Bulwis, a mentally challenged man in the village who often visited her in town, where she was later transferred. Uprooted and transplanted yet again, her aroma was transmitted around the Charlestown area for a few months later in March of 1966. Now, here she not only was, but reveled in being mother. She was spirit-filled, virtuous, strong, indomitable, impassioned, audacious, dynamic, effervescent, facetious, and empathic. These characteristics she demonstrated with adeptness as she lived to emanate her God's graciousness and labor tirelessly for souls in his vineyard. Mother Esdaille served in various capacities for the shoes she must fill as pastor's wife thus demanded. Her role as women's president and later women's treasurer brought to light her many impassioned traits. She led fearlessly yet lovingly. Defeat and negativism were unknown to her. It was awesome just standing back and watched as she rallied to plan a fundraising dinner, a picnic, a concert, a week of special services or activities. She had the keen insight of recognizing cowards or losers. With her, it was rouse and rally or else. She possessed the ability to get one hand over substantial amounts of money for the Lord's cause, of course, before he or she could understand what had happened. And she was a pro at this, for mission always needed money. She tackled the toughest businessmen in town, who with tight-lipped smiles relinquished the contents of their billfolds or proffered the necessary goods needed from their businesses. As a youth counselor, she had a no-nonsense attitude. Each boy or girl under her counsel just knew the essentials of being a Christian boy or girl. She had 2 famous books, Heart Talks to Girls and Heart Talks to Boys. After having the contents of her favorite textbooks hurled at you verbally, children and young adults alike were proper. Boys knew how to respect girls by opening doors and ceding seats, and girls knew how to be modest and chaste, not allowing one to be pawed by the opposite sex. The etiquette of living was stamped ineffaceably in one's mind. No loudness, no swear words. Be quiet, but not foolish. Respect your elders. Defend yourself only when threatened. Her ease in discoursing made it remarkably facile for troubled youths to approach her about any issue that was burdensome. The topics she tackled were endless. Nothing was taboo. None of the youths who benefited from Mother Esdaille's life coaching skills remained unaffected. In this, she was astonishingly remarkable. Dynamic, strong, indomitable. She feared no foe, was not afraid of the impossible, and did not understand no. It was said of Esther by Mordecai, "Who can know whether thou art come to the kingdom for such a time as this?" Found in Esther 4, verse 14. Mother Esdaille, with all her strength, was indubitably divinely chosen by God to be Reverend Esdaille's helpmate. She did not stand before nor behind her spouse. She stood next to him. During difficult times and trying situations as ministers, Mother Esdaille's strength bolstered her husband's faith. She was at the forefront when necessary, and only in the rear to provide a cushion for Reverend Esdaille to land on, if the need presented itself. She held his hands in the building of the church at Cotton Ground and renovation at that in Barnsgut. Her favorite song, which became her lifestyle, was "I Trust in God." Her many ministerial feats are yet incomprehensible. Mother Esdaille was gregarious, sociable, loving God's creation. No one eluded her embrace. She served in her niche as only she could. Her efforts in the community were endless. First and foremost, she made certain that everyone was told about Christ and his redemptive work, but she only did this after she nourished them good and plenty. A simple drop by to say hi could very well take a while. She fed the mind, the soul, and the body. She knew what it was to have a mission home, which is what the man's was dubbed. It was the house that sheltered and ministered holistically. Though she never held a secular job, she knew how to work tirelessly without complaining or whining. At one particular time, she took in a sister who left Nevis over 30 years and came back with all her belongings to retire, not having consulted with a single person nor family member. And guess who took her in? You guessed right, Mother Esdaille. Boarding that was to be 2 weeks ended up being 2 full months. What a trusted soul. The lady was not vetted, was not asked for references, nor remuneration. Mother Esdaille explained, "Inasmuch as you did it for one of these, you did it for me." Mother Esdaille realized that Jesus went about doing good, socially and spiritually, so she mimicked him. She participated in and supported societal activities, agricultural or school fairs, and sporting events. She attended and cheered at many of Joseph's cricket matches and Grace's netball competitions. She was even keynote speaker at the speech night graduation ceremony of 1976 at the Charlestown Secondary School. She was a fantastic mother and endearing grandmother. She had 5 children, 8 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren. It was at her knees that her children and grandchildren learned to pray, love, and have faith and trust in God. She laid down her armor on February 8, 2008, and bowed proudly before God later to receive her well-deserved crown. Her greatest joy was that her children are all heirs of the kingdom, but more than that, are all continuing the tradition of disseminating the fragrance that she so effortlessly wafted on the ear while she traversed this earth. A more virtuous woman, who can find? Mother Esdaille's worth far exceeds Wall Street's calculation. The heart of her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren safely trust in her legacy. Therefore, we all arise, salute, and call her blessed. This is from the remnant.